Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we have the Elephone A5 smartphone. And as you can see, it's full of fingerprints already. So with that said, let's go ahead and check it out and see if it's good as it looks. So you have seen the intro, this thing looks pretty amazing out of the box. So on the front you got two cameras, or actually one camera, and one is for depth sensing. The earpiece, you got the notch basically, you got the full screen, which does have a pretty fast fingerprint reader when it does work, just like that. So we can go ahead and close it. Read it. It's pretty quick, probably faster than my LG V20. The screen looks pretty fantastic. It gets pretty bright and pretty dim. On the back we got three cameras, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit. We got the pretty awesome looking, pretty sleek, pretty fingerprint filled glass back piece, which does look pretty amazing when it is clean. I mean, just look at that shine. It's pretty fantastic. ShamWow approved. Taking a look at the bottom here, we got the Type-C connector, as well as the loudspeaker and the microphone. On the top, we got a headphone jack. On the left side, we got the SIM card slot, which does accept two SIM cards as well as an SD card combo. And lastly, on the right side, we got the fingerprint reader, the power button, as well as the volume buttons right over here, which are all nicely laid out and are pretty easy to get to. And again, the fingerprint reader is pretty quick. Alright, so here's how my initial review is going to go. I got a list of things I'm going to be talking about here, their highlights and things I've encountered, and I'll be talking about them in just a bit. So I'll talk about those, show you some camera samples, and see if this thing is worth getting, because apparently, according to their website, they plan to release Android 9.0 as an update, which still has not happened, and that is something that you should be looking out for if you have pre-ordered this thing, because you're going to need it. And hopefully they'll fix the list of things I have here that I've talked about. So first of all, here's what you see when you first get the phone. You got the default launcher, and you got pretty much a pretty nice layout. It's pretty simple and straightforward, nothing crazy, but it's got the slide up drawer type of feature, and you can just have everything on the home screen. But of course, it's not a perfect launcher. It's got a couple things. It's not as snappy, doesn't have any adjustments, and if you change the background to something, for example, black like this, when you go back to open up the drawer, you'll see that the background is still that blue-purple mixed color, which looks cool, but at the same time, it's not what it is on the back. It's not transparent, and it's not blurring out the background of your actual wallpaper. All it is a fixed theme background, so there's that. So right now we have a blue background, and what that does is pretty much change the drawer to something like this. And if we go back and change it to something a bit darker, you'll see that the drawer has changed as well, which looks pretty cool. Now the phone here does have some themes, and you can see that there's about 5 themes, and pretty much these wallpapers are probably linked to these themes as well. That's what's going on right here. Pretty cool wallpapers, not gonna lie. High quality stuff. And there's also the ringtone tab where you can go ahead and adjust your ringtones and do all that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's stop talking about the launcher, because yes, of course you can install Nova Launcher, but it is not compatible with Google Now, which is kind of unfortunate. So if you do want Google Now, you have to just use the shortcut right here, and you'll get whatever you want, which is not that terrible. So something that you're going to be noticing when you first get this thing that's going to be pretty annoying pretty quickly is the status bar and how it animates with the notch, or should I say, lack thereof. So when you first grab the status bar, you'll see something like this, and you'll notice that the actual Gmail icon is not even showing up on top. So you go ahead and drag, and then you see that there's a gap between the notification and the icons up top here, and then you scroll down, and there's another pop right there, and then you get the whole thing. Don't worry about this. Yeah, so you scroll down, and you get a gap right there, and a gap right there, and it's just terrible. At the same time, it wasn't even showing you the whole notifications. You'll also notice that the time actually jumps from the left to the right side on the status bar. Again, hopefully they fix it in the next update. So I've talked about the status bar, I've talked about the clock, talked about the launcher. Now, a couple things. Netflix will be stuck in 720p. You cannot download the game Vainglory. And of course, no Google Now launcher. So a bit disappointing, but of course, this could all be fixed during the next update. Hopefully. But first, let's talk about the battery life. Well, it takes about an hour and a half to charge this thing to 100% from 0%, and the battery lasts about 4 hours of heavy use, and that is without the SIM card, because when I first set it up, I had no SIM card, but I was downloading a lot, I was watching videos, and I was pretty much just had the screen on the whole time, setting it up and doing all that kind of stuff. So again, about 4 hours of screen on time, maybe 4.5, I'm not too sure. Not terrible, but again, this is a 4000 milliamp hour. But at the same time, you're probably asking, why does this thing not have a longer battery life? Well, it's simply the processor. That's why you pay the hefty price for the flagships from bigger brands that use the Snapdragons and the Exynos and the new Kirin processors. Those are both powerful and power efficient at the same time, so that's how you get really long battery lives on the really high-end phones. Now, speaking of connection, we have random Wi-Fi disconnects. Yes, I was watching videos, and I've used this thing for a couple hours of watching videos on Crunchyroll or YouTube with Bluetooth on and without Bluetooth. By the way, the Bluetooth works perfectly fine, but every now and then, the Wi-Fi would just completely cut out. It would disconnect, you'll see the icon here, it would just completely cut out, and then it will reconnect. And depending on where you're watching your video, you may have enough buffer to recover, you may not, and your video will freeze for a couple seconds and come back online. Yeah, and data double letters. Oh yeah, so I'll put a screenshot right over here, and pretty much you'll see that there are double icons for the 3G connection. I don't know why. And there's two more things, and that would be heat. The heat on this phone is not terrible. It does get warm. Like many of the older Snapdragon processors, this thing does get pretty warm, about 56 degrees Celsius, I believe. I have played PUBG, and I was able to run the game much better than I was able to on my V20. And we'll probably do a quick gameplay at the end of this video. How is the touchscreen in terms of PUBG? Well, it is pretty good. It's pretty smooth, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. No, it does not have the same issue that the Xiaomi devices have, which is when you go slow, it'll start skipping pixels. It does not have that issue, if you're wondering. But other than that, there's no NFC. But speaking of stuff that it does not have, it does have GPS, it does have a gyroscope. So yes, you can use the gyroscope function on PUBG, which is pretty useful. And the GPS, it works pretty well. I haven't had an issue with it. It does lock on pretty quickly, I gotta say. And let's just see how long it takes right here. So 25 in view. And there we go. We are using about 7 satellites within a matter of about 16 seconds or so, which is pretty good. So yeah, there you go. GPS does work. It works pretty well. And that's pretty much it for the main experience that I had personally. Again, this is the initial review, and I do plan to do an update video or the final review once and if they actually release the Android 9.0 update, which hopefully fixes the issues that I have talked about here. You're probably wondering, how is the camera? Well, it's hit and miss. It's both of them. But first, here's a quick look at the software. So you got a couple options right here. You got video, you got panorama, you got picture, you got stereo, which pretty much does the blur effect. It works, but not that great. Then you got mono, which is pretty much black and white. And then we got advanced, which really doesn't give you that many settings. You got white balance, ISO, and exposure, and that's it. And here's the advanced settings. Ooh, so we got capture voice, if you want your voice to be captured. We got image properties, so you can kind of tune how your image is going to be processed when you take the picture, which is pretty useful. The things I'd probably recommend doing is probably take out sharpness, because sometimes it over sharpens. But again, you can play around with the settings, and you can get some pretty decent pictures. And there is a 3D effect, which is nobody's going to use, honestly. But you also have video, which the video is pretty terrible. And you're probably saying that's pretty disappointing that it has 3 cameras on the back and that's all you get. Some really gimmicky stuff that no one is going to use or something that's not going to work too well. Well, you're probably right. So here we are, walking down a random path with some little birdies and some duckies. And this should give you a good idea of how the microphone sounds and how the video looks. From my screen, at least on the phone screen, it looks very over-sharpened, over-saturated, and a bit zoomed in as well. And I believe I have set it to the maximum settings in terms of quality. But yeah, that's how it should look like. Lots of foliage should give you an idea of pretty much how it looks. But that, we'll see if that bird comes along. Come on, come here. And it's gone. Well, and let's do a little quick tap test here. And right now I'm holding it with 2 hands, and this should give you an idea of how the stabilization looks. Not very stable, and it's also changing exposure really quickly. It's not very smooth. And we are back. So, what does this leave us? Well, we still have to do the sound test, show you guys the Antutu benchmark, which you can see right over here. Now, one thing I'm going to mention also, that the fingerprint here, although it works pretty quickly and it works pretty nicely, is that if you're actually holding it and moving around and all that kind of stuff, you know, you're not intentionally trying to unlock it. Eventually, when you're grabbing it, it's going to start vibrating, but you're not going to notice it when you're moving around and talking to someone. Eventually, when you come to unlock it, you can't do it, because if you open it up, it'll say too many attempts, and then you have to actually unlock it by hand. So that's something you should keep in mind. Here's a quick sound test. Alright, so the speakers here, although they're not terrible, they're going to get the job done just for a quick video. Don't recommend watching any movies on it, but if you just want to watch a quick video, the volume, it's not that loud. I'd say it's about a medium level. Now, if you're wondering if YouTube can play at full screen, well, yes you can. And inside the settings, there are two different options that allow you to pick and choose which app you want to do full screen or full screen including the notch, which is really useful. I just really hope they have an option to disable the notch completely and just black it out on top. Alright, here we go. So the list of settings that I'm using currently, here they are, right here. I have set them up using the GFX tool that I've made a video about. And this is the actual new map, which I have not tried yet, which looks pretty cool. So as you can see, 60 FPS, but you can't really see it because I'm recording in 4K. Alright, here we go. So a look around. You can see that it is pretty smooth, and while we're here, you can check out the viewing angles, so that's what you can expect. But again, there's a screen protector, so that could be affecting the viewing angles here. In real life, it's not as dramatic as it is in camera. But yeah, let's just go ahead and grab some loot and go outside and do some stuff. Now, you probably have noticed just something right there, and that would be when you're aiming, sometimes the screen kind of jitters. It happens every now and then. Is it annoying? Could it make you lose a fight? Most likely, but for the overall experience, it's pretty smooth. As you can see, aiming here is a breeze, especially with this gyroscope. But yeah, let's just go ahead and do a quick aiming test here. You can see that it is pretty easy to micro adjust, no problems here. It's not terrible. Is it 100% responsive? Probably not, but you still have that gyroscope function, so that does give you an advantage. So we're currently about 5 minutes in, and we can go ahead and measure the temperature. So on the front, we are getting about a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius. And on the back with the case on, someone's going to run us over, also 35. You can see that the shadows are rendering pretty late here, but that's probably because of the settings that I have currently. No damage. So you can see that the game now is not 100% smooth. You're not getting that 60 FPS anymore. More like 24 or 30. Might as well get in here. See what's going on here. It's a nice little town. Too clean, but there's someone. And here we can actually get some 60 FPS or some pretty smooth experience. Alright, so these guys, I can't really tell what they are, but the minimap does tell me. That was pretty messy. And now we're out here, and you can see that the game is lagging. So if you want, you can always drop the settings and get something that is more enjoyable in terms of 60 FPS. Maybe drop it to 720p, drop the settings all the way to low, and you'll definitely should be able to get a pretty smooth experience throughout the whole game. Nope. So yeah, this whole time I was looking at the... oh, and I died. They got me. That's the guy that was inside. So that is pretty much it for this video. It is a pretty nice looking phone. The price point is pretty nice, and it does have a lot of potential. They just have to get that software fixed. Most of the stuff here can be definitely fixed in software. It's a pretty nicely built phone. It feels pretty good. The build quality is solid. I mean, it feels like a hefty, nice phone. Anyways, guys, that is actually pretty much of this video. So hopefully this video isn't too long. Hopefully it is less than 15 minutes in length in total, because I have a lot of recordings here I've done. So once again, this is the initial review of the Elephone A5 smartphone. I will be waiting for the Android 9.0 update, which hopefully will fix all these problems that I've mentioned. And with that said, that is pretty much it for this video. So let me guys know what you think of this thing. It does look pretty awesome. It does feel pretty solid, but again, the software is pretty buggy. So thank you all for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed this fan. Hopefully if you did, hit the like button and subscribe for content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.